Welcome to the Spin Axis Podcast. I'm Erik Barzeski.
I'm Jayson Nickol.
I'm Tyson, Deskins.
This is our third Mailbag episode. Mailbag number 3. MAIL bag.
Thanks for sending those in.
Yeah, thanks for sending them in. They don't all come via email, but some of them are on Twitter, some of them are via iMessage. We're just going to kind of go in order here. So Andy did send us an email, and he said, with the latest boom of AI assistants, how many students do you get that come in and say, Gemini told me that I should be doing X, Y, and Z, or ChatGPT told me that I'm doing A, B, and C wrong? Has AI made giving lessons and coaching more difficult? Is there anything that AI actually gets right? I'll let you guys answer. Tyson, you answer first. You're laughing.
Yeah. I would say this. I haven't had students come in and start off by saying AI has told me this. I haven't got that yet. I'm sure it's coming.
I haven't either.
I'm sure it's coming. It's not. Yeah. It's obviously not going away. As a coach, I'm trying not to just totally ignore it. I'm trying to be aware of it. And, we've been lucky enough to sort of beta test the Swing Coach app for Sean and those guys. And it's got obviously some AI involved in it. And I think it's going to continue to get better.
Stack has AI programming in it.
That's right.
Yep.
It's not going away. I think we need to embrace it to a certain level, and I think it will get better. The more people use it, obviously, that's how AI is designed to continue to be better. Do I think that it will make coaching more difficult? I almost feel like it might make coaching, if we're just truly talking coaching, maybe a little bit easier, because there's always the human element of coaching. And when you look at great coaches, I think great coaches understand cause and effect. That's why they're great. And they also know how to communicate and coach the person that's in front of them at the same time. So if AI gets, that good, maybe it'll be a scary time, but I think we're quite a ways away from that. Jayson, what do you feel?
Yeah, bang on. I mean, I use it as a tool like all things. And if you don't use the instrument how you need to use the instrument, it doesn't help. It's like all things, you know what I mean? Like a Swing Coach app, I have a lot of my students that use it, but I have them put in parameters that I want them to work on to be on the other side. It's not that their swing when they do the Swing Coach app is perfect, is zeroed out or anything like that. I use it as to move their tendencies on the other side of it, so that when they get on the golf course, they feel like they're trying to have an outside takeaway, or they're trying to, load deeper into their trail side, stuff like that. If you were just to blankly...
if you hear the woman saying, good swing all the time, you're probably not practicing super well, because you should probably be hearing inside by 3 or whatever you're working on a little bit more often.
Yeah, bang on. Yeah, exactly.
She's got such a lovely voice, doesn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's way better than mine.
Even though she's like, steep by 12.
Your swing sucks.
Oh, why did you do that?
You're not set up in the right place.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you should start over left-handed.
Maybe we could have Sean and those guys add that in. Have you ever thought of bowling?
You have to launch it in a special mode for those things. Jayson, someone wrote to you that said, how do you decide the amount of information you give to your students?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. And it's a great question. It's going to depend a little bit on the student. And as a coach, and I can tell you that, when I first started coaching, I definitely gave too much information. More
advanced students, more information, or less? Because I honestly think it's almost sometimes the opposite.
Totally depends. You're going to have to read a little bit of the face of the student. Like when you start talking to them and they're, okay, can you, you're just like, well, they want more, right? And then you can start giving more and you're like, nope, they didn't want more. It's like, all right, let's back it off a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have the people that love like the deep dive of exactly what the body's doing and all of this stuff. And then you're going to want someone that's like, give me a feel that I can have through impact. It's like, okay, perfect. And the more that you coach somebody, the more you're going to find out how that person learns and how you need to deliver the information. I mean, this literally just goes into what we were talking about with AI. Until that happens, where you can have a conversation with that AI and it's like, hey, actually, like, do you think that, you could give this a crack, or, you might need to feel like this. it's not going to replace a coach. And even then, the amount of times that I've talked to, a student where they're like, oh man, I'm just a little bit frustrated. Like, why is this happening? Blah, blah, blah. And it goes into like, man, it's actually really, really close. Like you just keep doing that drill, keep going on that. And then literally 2 days later, they're like, oh my God, it all clicked. This is so much easier, blah, blah, blah. I'm so glad that you just, told me to keep doing it. And going back into the question of like how much information you should give somebody. The hard part is trying to find out when you can move to maybe the next bit. You guys obviously know sometimes you have a student where you might need to change 3 things in your swing, but you can't change all 3 at the same time. You just need to change them 1 at a time or maybe 2 at most.
Students are impatient. They think because they've demonstrated at 60% speed, oh, what's the next piece? I'm ready for that too. I want to start to layer that in. No, you're not ready.
Yeah. And so now I've been better about it. I just tell people, I'm like, unless you're really comfortable with this, we're just going to keep working on that. I just blatantly tell people, and I've had people in the past who are like, I want to know exactly what's happening in my swing. And I've told them that. And then the next lesson, you watch them stand over top of the golf ball and you can see them thinking those 5 things. And I'm just like, gosh, darn it. I can't believe I did it. I should have never said that.
I think the mistake a lot of people make when they're first starting out instructing is they want to show how much they know. And so they give students a lot of information and they say a lot and they want to prove how smart they are. And they want to justify why someone is paying them money for them to tell them things. So they tell them a lot of things to show them, again, how much they know and to justify whatever they are charging. The more you teach, the more you whittle down what you say. If you have an ocean of knowledge, sometimes the lesson is, here's the teaspoon that you need right now, because otherwise you're going to drown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I realize you can drown in a teaspoon or whatever that saying is, but stick with me here. Anyway, you just need to tell them what they need to know at that moment, because once you say something, you can't take it back. We've all taught lessons where we've said things and we're like, oh crap, I said too much. They don't seem to have noticed. Okay, I might have got away with that one. And then sometimes 20 minutes later, they bring it up again. You're like, darn it, they heard that part.
Yeah, they heard.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be like, yeah, sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. Just ignore that part for now. Or you try to downplay it. But it's funny because they say you remember 7 things about any interaction you have. And some of them might be like, oh, you had that stupid hat on that time, or he was wearing a pink hoodie. One of those 7 things that they remember might be the offhand comment that you didn't really censor yourself in making. So you have to be careful. And so I think in lessons, we try to give people the right amount of information, which is often less is more.
Yeah, I agree completely. And to answer it simply, how do you decide? I think you decide how much information that you're going to give somebody through your experience, right?
Yep.
The successful lessons we give and the bad lessons we give. The bad ones we carry on as a coach a lot longer than the player does, because it drives us crazy that we did open our mouth. Yep. So
you win or you learn. You give a good lesson or you learn. It applies to us too.
Yeah, that's right. 1,000,000%.
This one maybe will be a quick one. Roger messaged us on Twitter to ask for our thoughts on zero torque putters. Everybody has them now. So,
I mean, here's my thoughts. I think, again, simply is, if it helps somebody, then use it. If it doesn't help you, don't use it. I think players probably know fairly quickly, and I don't have anything bad to say if it's helping a player have some more confidence.
Jayson?
Yeah, just go get fit, like all things. I mean, if you go get fit for it and you feel great and your start lines are awesome and you can feel, you're hitting in the middle of the face and feel like you got good pace control, absolutely. It's just another putter. Is it better than the other putter? Well, if you got fit into it and it's the right one for you, then yes. But if it isn't, then it isn't. Like, I don't understand. We've had them before.
I'll say this. I always laugh at the putter industry because every company says we've solved aiming. It's like, no, you haven't. Odyssey came out with the black and white line, like 5 years ago or whatever, when they solved aiming, and you're like, okay, like putting has been around for a couple 100 years. Like, you haven't solved anything. There's nothing new in putting. There's nothing super revolutionary. There's no magic in putting. It's a flat piece of usually metal on the end of a stick, and you can arrange that in various combinations. But at the end of the day, the good putters that I know have had almost the same putter for most of their lives. And they figured out how to make that work. So when you're constantly kind of switching putters, and that could mean every 3 years even, it doesn't mean literally 7 times a year. But when you're constantly switching putters, the technique you have to use for that changes all the time too. So like maybe you have a flaw in your stroke that when you pick up this putter off the rack, it kind of fits that flaw and works for 2 weeks. But then when your putting stroke moves away from that, maybe that putter doesn't work anymore. Pick a putter, develop a good stroke with that, and go with that, right? It's a flat piece of metal on the end of a stick, excepting the teardrop putters that were actually curved.
Right.
If you want to get the most out of your practice at home or have friends over to play some of the world's best courses without leaving your house, you need to stop by Carl's Place, the leader in indoor golf simulators. Carl's new 3D sim builder lets you specify the size of the room, then helps you build a fantastic sim that fits your needs, space, and budget. Spin Axis listeners can use the coupon code SPINAXIS, only going to say that in the podcast, not going to be on the website, so SPINAXIS, to save 5% now through the end of the year. Visit Carl's Place at carlofet.com. It's East Troy, but carlofet.com. Rob wrote to us via email, and he said, I noticed this lead foot move in a lot of pro golfers, especially the longer hitters. At impact or post-impact, their lead foot comes off the ground and moves back and away from the ball. Extreme examples are Bubba Watson, Lexi Thompson, Kyle Brookshire. My question, is it just a sign of very fast body rotation in the downswing, or do these players push off the ground with their lead foot more than others? Is this a move that I should practice as a drill in speed training? The answer to all of those is yes, but we'll get into the details. Why? Tyson?
Yeah. So, that move that you're seeing from those long hitters, I can promise you it's not just because of fast rotation. It is because they are pushing into the ground very, very hard, and what we call AP force towards the golf ball anterior, away from the golf ball posterior. And with that lead foot, those guys are pushing towards the ball and they're pushing vertically, right? Up and down. And the reaction is their foot will fly backwards. And you can have somebody's foot fly backwards without them pushing hard. Okay,
let's be clear about that though. They're pushing toward the golf ball with that lead foot, but because it pushes let's say the hip joint back or the upper leg back, so hard, then the upper leg moving that way fast pulls the whole leg, because your leg doesn't magically grow. It's not glued to the ground. So the velocity that you put into that lead hip, because the ground's not going anywhere, so the velocity you put into that lead hip pulls then your foot back and off the ground. So it is somewhat because of the speed of the rotation, because they're pushing hard toward the golf ball direction. So that moves their hip back in a fast direction at a fast rate. And that speed then pulls the leg and thus the foot back and up also, because they're pushing up as well. It is a bit of both.
Yeah, exactly. It's a combination.
That force is creating the rotation.
But don't cheat it.
I've seen people pick up their foot and put it behind. It's like, no, it's the opposite of what you want to do. It's a reaction. Your body's reacting to the speed and stuff. Do not just pick your foot up and put it back there. That's the opposite. Is that what you were going to say? Don't cheat it.
Yeah, I've literally seen people do that. Like someone sent me in a drill and they're like, hey, I've been trying to add in some verticals into my driver swing. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, can you send me a video doing that? And it's like they literally hit the shot and then they step. And I was like, what is happening there? And they're like, I'm trying to push into the ground. And I'm like, but you're not. You're literally just stepping. You're stepping out of the way. That's gonna kill speed. Are you slower? He's like, yes. This is frustrating. Just stop doing that. You're not doing it right.
If anything, with the furniture slider, I caution people to do this slowly at first, but just to learn the move. Put a furniture slider, or in Jason's case, a cereal box, because he loves those. How much cereal do you eat in a month? Is your family a big cereal?
It's not me. I actually don't eat cereal. I'm just an eggs and avocado guy.
Your kids?
My kids love cereal.
And your students all have vegetables, so they don't eat cereal either.
You gotta eat those vegetables.
So put that under your lead foot and make a slow down swing, because it's going to move, and try to move it toward the golf ball. Try to move it that way, and that way you'll learn what you actually have to do when you have the friction of the actual ground and not a cereal box or a furniture slider to do it. So that's a good drill. The opposite is picking it up and putting it behind you, because that slows you down, like you just said. All right. I don't know if we answered that question, Rob, but I think we did.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I think we said something.
I definitely... And I think it's something that you can practice when you're doing speed training, as long as you're actually applying the force. Jam your toes in your shoe towards the front of your shoe. Jam it in there really hard. I'll put a paper towel roll behind somebody's lead calf and tell them they got to knock that over before the club would hit the ball, which is forcing them to apply that force from the foot, which then would push that leg back. It's absolutely something you can practice in speed training. Again, I would always say, try to go get measured somewhere. I have measured somebody who was, their foot literally came off of the force plate and they had 0 AP lead foot force, right? And so it's like, okay, this is clearly fake.
Yeah.
This is not helping you. So if you can, go get measured and you'll really ingrain that feeling.
Yeah, and don't be surprised. Just because your foot comes off the ground doesn't mean you're necessarily doing it at the right time or at the right velocity.
That's right.
You can actually apply more force and stay on the ground depending on a bunch of things. So don't necessarily see a foot going in the air as a gain. Our last one was an iMessage from Pete, and that's a pseudonym actually because the person didn't want to actually own this one, because it might be mildly contentious. What percentage of golf instructors out there are worth the time, even if they are incredibly cheap? It seems like with all that we've learned in the last 10 to 15 years, there would be more good golf instructors out there, but I hear horror stories all the time. This person was not an instructor, it's just a student, but he's taking 50 lessons from 10 different people. What percentage of golf instructors are good?
Yeah,
I think this is, go ahead, Jayson.
What percentage, man?
We're going to ask the Canadian first.
Hard. Yeah, that's I'm going to dodge that one completely. And I'm just going to go into that. The problem with a lot of pros is that, and I'm going through right now, like I'm going through my PGA levels. And the only reason I'm going through my PGA levels, I'll be honest with everybody listening, is because at the end of it, you can get master's tickets. That's the only reason that I'm doing my PGA certification. Outside that, it's like, but it's, I don't want to mash you, but it's like that's set up for the head pro or an assistant pro at a club, right? I'm never going to be that guy. For me, some of the stuff that I'm learning in there is just like golf cart fleet management. I'm never going to do that. So when you have a pro at your golf course, that's what he went through to become a pro. And he hasn't, shadowed 6 other swing instructors, golf coaches that are like some of the best in the world. So of course he's not going to have the same information that some other instructor that's, devoting his entire life into like how to coach golfers, because he's trying to become the head pro at a golf course. And so he needs to know how to order,
Sure. But out of golf instructors though, Jayson, what percentage are bad? What percentage are good? Out of just golf instructors.
This is so hard for me.
Forget the PGA part of the
Gosh.
Stuff. Tyson, do you have an answer?
I would say, yeah. I mean, I think in today's world, more and more people have just decided to become a golf instructor because of all the information that is out there, which is fantastic to me. That's great. But I think the number continues to lower of good decreasing? Golf instructors versus, I think it's decreasing only for this reason, not because I think there's a big difference to this person's question with all that we've learned over the years. I think there's a big difference in being able to diagnose why a golf swing maybe doesn't work versus a golf swing, understanding cause and effect. Well, how do you fix it? And how do you fix it for 100 people who have the same issue? You can't fix it the same way. And I think, don't get me wrong. I think we are getting smarter and there are a lot of smart people out there, but there is a big difference between being able to make somebody better and just simply diagnose what's wrong with a golf swing. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are better at diagnosing what's wrong, but maybe can't get to the root cause and understand the true cause and effect and how a player needs to develop to be better.
So maybe what you're saying is this: we have more information now. And people can look at more information and they can say, oh, look, his AP force is low in this part. His vertical is late. They could look at that. They could look at a gears thing of the same player and be like, oh, look, his right elbow bends this much. That's too much. His left hip does this thing. They could look at that. Then they can look at the ball flight and say, oh, his club is coming in too much. They can do all that. But then you go, okay, so what do you do with the guy? And he's like, I don't know.
Yes.
Like, I just told you 17 things, but like, where do you start?
Yes.
I don't know. Because you can have all the technical knowledge that you would want, but you still got to teach the person standing there in front of you.
Absolutely.
Saying, what do I need to do right now on the next swing to get better at this? You're saying that because the information has become so voluminous that it's actually made people worse?
Yes.
Because they can't get through that to teach the student?
I think they get so caught up in just diagnosing that they don't then learn how to solve the problem. And I think there's more and more of those people out there than ever before. And so that's why you hear the horror stories. To me, that's why you actually hear these horror stories, because they're going to these people who maybe are cheap, but do have some kit out there that can measure this stuff. and then can't actually help that person be better. So then that person who leaves that lesson's like, gosh, these lessons are terrible. When in reality, it wasn't necessarily a terrible lesson, but that person just didn't know how to structure improvement for the player, which is a whole different animal.
Yeah. I mean, Eric, what's your percentage if you were to throw a number on there?
I think, and I'm spitballing here, I'm going to kind of make it up a bit.
It's a tough one.
10% of golf instructors are good instructors. They may not be the best, but it depends on your level. It depends on who you are. It depends on a lot of things. But 10%, I think, are out there doing good work. They're helping most golfers that they see. We don't all help 100%. We don't click with all 100%. We don't.
Nope.
Some of that
never
that we don't click with didn't put in the work. Some of it's on the student. Some of it's on us because
absolutely
in the 45 minutes we didn't notice that, or they misled us a little bit in how much they're going to work on something, or we missed a little bit of like, this is just super uncomfortable and he's never going to do it, or whatever.
Yep.
10% are out there doing good work. I think 50% are terrible and should make my job harder, because when someone goes to see a terrible instructor, they give all instructors a bad name. Because if Bob goes and sees a terrible instructor, his buddies are less likely to go get instruction because they see Bob's game fall apart, or Bob not get better after spending
absolutely
$800 on however many lessons with that guy, or whatever. They make my job harder, and it's annoying and frustrating when so much of the industry is that, the tip of the month or whatever kind of instructor they are.
Yeah.
And I think the 40% is where I have trouble with it. I think the 40% includes some of the people like you were talking about, where they have a lot of information but don't know how to get it out of them or convey it in the best way.
Yeah.
I think in that 40%, you have people that are good lessons sometimes, but not nearly often enough to be what I would call a good instructor. I think instruction is technical knowledge. I think it's communication ability, and I think it's prioritizing properly. And I think you need to have bits of all three of those. And the great instructors are really good at all three of them. And so you have kids coming out of school or kids that are just starting into instruction that can look at a bunch of stuff online, like you were talking about, but they haven't actually taught lessons yet. And so one of the best ways for those 40% to move up is teach a bunch of lessons. Do it inexpensively if you have to for a while, just to get the experience of teaching a bunch of lessons. Go observe a bunch of lessons, because watching how other people do it and how you would perceive yourself as, how would I have taught that lesson? Grade yourself against that person. See how it shakes out. Record yourself teaching lessons. We're getting off topic a little bit. To the instructors listening to this, there's lots of ways that you can do. There's lots of things that you can do to get better at your craft.
Yep. Love that. And again,
I'm the only one that gave percentages here, by the way. So Jayson, what are your percentages? And Tyson, what are yours? Let's end on that.
All right. I dive in just because I had a big argument with a couple instructors lately. And what shocked me, mine are gonna be higher. I'm gonna say I'm gonna agree with you. The 10% are really good. There's obviously the 1% that are like, the best of the best, and everyone more or less knows who they are, and they're, they made a name for themselves because they made, bunch of major winners, right? Outside, you've got 10 to 15 that are really good, and you should go see them and find ways to go get instruction from them. Everyone else, you're going to have some really good, pros around that can do that. But it scares me truly when I get some of these online students that are like, man, I've been taking golf lessons from, blah, blah, blah in my town or whatever. And they send in their first swings. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. What are you guys working on? And they label what they're working on. And it's completely not a thing so far away from what they need to work on. It blows my mind. And I'm, like I've said numerous times, I try not to ever bash any pros, because I don't know what they're working
PGA
at.
As a whole.
Well, no, don't get me wrong. No, there's
Thanks for listening. No.
You should look up the code of ethics violations part of the.
Oh my God, that one girl. Yeah, that's just bonkers. Yeah. But anyway, she's a perfect example. So she goes in there and like, I said the club face was one of the biggest parts of the golf swing. And she's like, oh, you said that it isn't. I'm like, I never said that. Like I said, the biggest things are strike, low point, and where the face is pointing at impact.
Yeah. So 10% are good. 1% are great. How does the rest of the 90% shake out for you?
It's bad. Like if you give a golf lesson, if every single one of your golf lessons is the same golf lesson, you are doing a major disservice to the student in front of you. And this is where I was getting to is I said that to one of the other coaches. I was like, you need to coach the player that's in front of you. And he was like, what am I going to coach the person behind me? And I'm like, man, it's literally a figure of speech, because if you're coaching a method to every single one of your golfers in front of you, not everyone is going to get better. There's a lot of people that are going to get worse because you aren't teaching that person in front of you. And as a golf coach, you need to be doing no harm. That's like the big thing is you should be finding ways to make sure that you don't mess up the person in front.
Tyson?
Yeah, I would agree. I think, I think the 10% that are good, I think that's a really good number. I do think it's sort of up in the air after that, but I would say, after that, 50% is probably bad. I would hope the other, 40%, I would hope I constantly try to be better, because I know that I'm not in that 10%. I want to be in that 10% and be one of the greats. That's what drives me to keep wanting to learn. And the fear I have is that a lot of people, once they get in and they get comfortable in a job, they actually sort of get complacent and think that they know what they need to know to be good, and they just don't, right? I don't think this ever ends. I agree with Jayson. I would never bash another golf instructor, because I don't think what we're doing is the easiest thing. Teaching humans how to move differently, I think, is hard innately. That's what drives me to keep wanting to be better. So,
all right.
I like those numbers. Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for listening.
Jayson, where can people find us?
You can find us on all social medias at the Spin Access. Please message us more things. If there was something that you wanted us to cover in the next mailbag, let us know. Send us a message. We'd love to chat about it.
And if you're in the PGA, it's JAYSON at nickolgolf.com.
I love you guys. Don't, it's just, I don't want to be in a pro shop. I'm sorry.
See ya.